Hey, and welcome to this video. This is going to be our first tutorial, and I'm going to go over what is pretty much Infernet's version of a Hello World tutorial. It's going to be very simple. We're going to bring up a container that does nothing but to just echo whatever you send it. And we're going to be able to service this container and request from it from a Web 2 perspective. So that's just sending it a post request to the REST API that Infernet Node makes available. And also, we're going to deploy some smart contracts and make the same request from a smart contract. Let's begin. So over here, I'm going to basically go into our repository. So Infernet container starter repository. There we go. And all the code for this tutorial is going to exist within this Hello World directory, right? So there's a container, which is basically the Hello World container that we run. And if you come to the source, it's a very simple Flask application. Let me zoom in here. So all it does is basically echoes back the input that you send it. And then it further has some smart contracts, which is a very simple Forge project. And we have this says GM contract, the Web3 version of Hello World that basically just makes a request, and then upon receiving that request, it'll print it to the console so that we can take a look at it. All right, let's begin by building our container and deploying it. So make build container project equals Hello World. And as you kind of follow along with the rest of the tutorials that we have here, you'll see that the same format has been used across all of our scripts for bringing up a container, deploying contracts, bringing up a service. So you'll notice that these are very consistent. So let's build the container. So make build container project equals Hello World. We'll build the container. So right now this happened too fast because I built it before. But it shouldn't take that long because it's a very simple container anyways. And then we're going to do make deploy container. And doing this, we can see that the Infernet node has been deployed, and we can see that it's going to start some containers. There we go. So the Hello World Infernet and the Infernet Anvil. And it has started the containers. So it basically says here, let me actually make it a little bit smaller so that we can see running containers, Hello World, and Anvil node, right? So next thing that I'm going to do is take a look at, we can make a direct request to this container by just simply making a post request. And let me just find out. I actually had this somewhere here. In the tutorial below, you're going to actually see, like you can pretty much copy paste the same command that I'm going to be running here. But we can make a post request to the REST endpoint. So curl, there we go. So from here, let's make a Web 2 request. So I'm making a post request to /API/jobs, and you should basically mention the container ID. And we can actually see that over here if we take a look at the config.json file. This is the container ID for the container that we are currently running. So that should match. Otherwise, Infernet Node doesn't really know where to send your request to. All right, so by making this post request, we're going to get the some unique ID for the task, and then we're going to be able to make a GET request to get the status of that job. So I've just copied over a curl request just to be a little bit faster, but we have to basically make sure that this ID matches the ID that we're passing in here to check the status of the job. Boom! So now this basically gives us the result of that job. To make it a little bit prettier, I'm just going to pipe the output of this command into the into JQ. JQ, this is basically just some program that helps you parse JSON outputs. There we go. So hello world, your input was, and then you basically see the whatever we basically sent it, which is data some inputs, right? And this is a very good starter project for you to be able to figure out what is the format of the input, what is the format of the output, so on and so forth. All right, now let's do the Web 3 version of this. So if we take a look at the containers that are running right now, Docker container ls, or I think it's just Docker ls would do it as well. But you can see that there's about 5 containers that are running, right? Redis, InfluentBit, and Infernet Node are basically all the containers that are just required for an Infernet Node to run. And then along with this, we're running 2 extra containers. One is the Hello World Infernet, and the other one is Infernet Anvil, which is a test network. If you've worked with Foundry and Anvil, you're familiar with that. But this Anvil node is basically a node that has all of our Infernet smart contracts already deployed to it, and a node already has been registered with it, so that we can just iterate and develop here. So let's take a look at the Anvil logs. So if we do docker logs-f anvil node, we can actually see that this is the logs that has been kind of outputted by that Anvil node, and it keeps going, right? The block number keeps getting checked for, and that's probably because Infernet is listening on new blocks that may have been added. There we go. So from here, what we're going to do is to deploy all of our contracts. This is the SESGM contract that I earlier showed you. So let's go ahead and do that. Infernet container starter repo make deploy contracts project equals hello world. There we go. And what this is going to do is to basically deploy all the contracts. And we can see that the contract got deployed to this address. And now I'm going to do make call contract. Make call contract project equals hello world. And by doing this, we can see that a request it happened too fast, but a request got sent. Infernet Node found out about it. And then it basically submitted a it processed the transaction and submitted a final transaction which got delivered into our contract, and you can see that it has been printed to the Foundry logs, right? And yeah, that's it. That's how you can basically make a end-to-end Web3 to Infernet Node, to your container, back to the Infernet Node, and back to your contract flow work. And yeah, you can pretty much see that everything has been printed from what we saw in our contract, right? So that's it for the Hello World tutorial, and thank you so much for sticking around, and follow along with the rest of our tutorials. We're going to do a whole lot of interesting stuff with this Infernet stack, and all of the tutorials are going to follow the same kind of structure. So see you in another video.